The Nigerian Ports Authority (NPA) has averred that it will tighten its noose against terminal operators operating at the nation's seaport in order to make them take major responsibility in port infrastructure development and rehabilitation. Mohammed Bello-Koko, Managing Director of NPA, made a disclosure in Lagos at the weekend. This was as he announced the expiration of concession agreements between the federal government and 5 terminal operators across the nation's seaports. He said that the federal government will secure commitment from terminal operators whose lease agreements have expired and others on the rehabilitation of dilapidated and decayed port infrastructure. According to him, the government have extended the lease agreement by another 6 months and working on a new agreement on the development of key infrastructure and decayed infrastructure. He said that the authority has started working on the rehabilitation of port infrastructure with the right marine equipment in place. So joining us now are 2 stakeholders who will be giving us their views as Nigerian Ports Authority (NPA) tightens its noose against terminal operators operating at the nation's seaport in order to make them more responsible in port infrastructure development and rehabilitation. They are Emmanuel Ogebo, Chief Executive Officer of Joseph Dam Port Services, and Captain Ibrahim Olugbade, retired, Executive Director, Administration, Ports and Cargo Handling Services. Pleasure to have you both here. I'd like to say, coming to you first with me in the studio, sir, what is going on really? What is causing all of this back and forth and brouhaha?
I would say nothing really, except that NPA has not been living up to its expectations. Just that the terminal operators have been doing their best. Of course, a concession agreement was signed with individual port operators. And to the best of my knowledge, we are doing our best, keeping to the rules, honoring all the agreements. But on the other side of the divide, NPA is not doing what they ought to do.
No, that's not what the Managing Director of Nigerian Ports Authority is saying. And maybe the 2 of you will, address this issue. Mohammed Koko, the Managing Director, is saying 5 terminal operators, their concession agreements have expired at various dates, and that the NPA is willing to give 6 months. And one of those concessionaires whose agreement with NPA has expired is your own company, Joseph Dam.
Very well.
Right. And he's saying that, look, for the agreements to be renewed, for the concessions to be renewed, he wants a commitment that terminal operators would also contribute to ports infrastructure and development as a way of giving back. On the surface of it, that would look like, okay, if you've been doing business at the ports for up to 10, 15 years, you should be able to contribute to the development process, and that the agreement will be, in other words, will be reviewed. Do you have an objection, any objection to giving back and contributing to the same ports where you operate from?
I will speak,
you and the captain.
I will speak not just for my company, I'll speak for the terminal operators that their leases have expired. We have an understanding, there is an agreement. The NPA, as our landlords, has responsibility. And what are those responsibilities? They are to provide access routes to the terminals. They are to maintain the quay aprons. They are to take care of the major capital infrastructure, including dredging the ports. But as we speak, they don't do that. For 10, 15 years, NPA has not done that. Not for once. I stand to be corrected. Not for once. The terminal operators, including Joseph Dam, have even had to write to NPA seeking their approval to do what NPA ought to do. And as we speak, nobody is responding to such letters. We've written, we've sent a reminder. And same thing is happening with, you can see you can see the state of the airport. That you are saying is not the duty of a terminal operator. As per the agreement, and we should learn to honor agreements in this country, that is the duty of NPA and not the duty of the terminal operator. What are we supposed to do? We are supposed to develop the infrastructure within the terminal. And if you come to any of the terminals, you will see that we are doing just that. My company has put over $50 million, which NPA is aware of. The Ministry of Transportation is aware of it. They set up a ministerial committee that visited all the terminals, headed by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Transportation. And they saw what we are doing. We have more than 20 containers lying there. Of course, we don't want to talk about the issue of custom because it has been resolved. That frustrated the project for almost 2 years. We are doing what we ought to do. But let NPA do that which it's within their purview under the agreement to do. We can't be the ones to dredge the ports. We can't be the one to take care of the key aprons. Even when it is not our duty, because it is endangering our business, endangering the lives of our clients, endangering the vessels themselves, we have asked, please give us authority to do this. And then let's agree on how you make a refund to us since it is your duty. Nobody's answering. So we wouldn't know what Koko meant by that in all sincerity.
Well, Captain Olugbade, are you with us?
Thank you very much.
Oh, yes. Thank you for joining us.
Here with you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Do you agree with Mr. Ogbebo here that the MPA is not living up to expectations and that the MPA is giving the terminal operators too many problems? And if true, what are those problems that you are facing?
Thank you very much. I think at this point, let me make it very clear that it's important that we differentiate politics from professionalism. And when it comes to major investment as provided by the terminal operators, the agreement is very clear who should do what. MPA are supposed to provide the major infrastructural components for the terminal to operate. Like my colleague said, the key apron are to be maintained by the Ports Authority, dredging, the provision of fenders that are not even there, the waterfront security are all part of the obligations of Nigerian Ports Authority. I think the agreement is very clear. No, if anybody is in doubt, they should go back to that agreement. For the terminal, our obligations are very clear. We are to develop the terminal, which we are doing, which we have done and we are doing. But we've even made it known to the Ports Authority that we are ready to invest in even the infrastructure that they cannot even maintain. We are paying our lease and throughput fees. We are meeting up all our obligations in terms of the agreement. But MPA is here to fulfill their own part. So it's mean, like I said, let's be very clear about our obligations and the obligation of MPA. So the excuse that they are using that we're not maintaining our terminal is not true. The ports are there for people to come and see. When we took over this port in 2006, we had barely nothing in the terminal. But today we have improved. We have provided more than enough as expected from the agreement. Let me give you a typical example. When we took over this terminal, we had no crane for cargo operations. Immediately we bought 3 cranes in 2006. As of today, we have 10 cranes for operations. We've even moved in terms of the moves per hour for crane. We started with about 5 moves per hour per crane. Now we're doing about 15 moves per hour. Shows improvement in our performance. The turnaround of vessels. Some years back, it's about 3 weeks to 1 month for a vessel to come and stay through cargo operation. But now we're talking about 2-3 days. So anybody, you can ask anybody in the industry will tell you how the port terminals have improved. And let me also remind us that personally, I have worked in MPA before. So I know what the performance was then compared to where we are today. So the excuse that we're not performing is really an aberration. So let's go back to the agreement. Let MPA go back to the agreement. They're being sincere. Let's take away politics from the finalism. Thank you.
So something for both of you. In fact, today, I think it was a feature on page 27 of this, it was talking about digitalizing port operation for increased efficiency. And Bello-Koko, the MPA boss, was speaking. And concerning what you said, this was what he said. He said, there's been rehabilitation and renovation of port facilities, renovation of moribund port facilities, pointing out that there are opportunities for investment in deep sea ports, with deeper draughts to accommodate larger vessels in line with global trends. Concerning the fact that access routes to the ports, they said they've put in ATO, an app that has been on for a while.
Yeah.
Has that not changed anything? They keep saying they've put in technology, they've put in rehabilitation, they've done their part. That's what they're saying invariably, as it is said in this today. So I'll ask you, is there better access? Has the ATO app been working? The technology they are putting in place? Also, the infrastructure they put in place, have you seen it? Also, the case of dredging, have you seen it? They talked about not just this port and other ports.
Rufai, I'm one person who, for what I am, we call a spade a spade. AMS terminals in Warri, for instance, did the dredging of the water itself to be able to take bigger vessels. When this concession agreement was signed years back, part of what they were supposed to do was to do the dredging to be able to take in bigger vessels. As we speak, they haven't done that, and the terminal operators have lost huge sums of revenue that have accrued to it. So application will work on what has been brought into the terminal. The application is not going to dredge the water. The application is not going to create the access routes. It's any person who wants to, I think Ruben in most cases will always quote law each time I watch him on air. I think they fast speak for themselves.
So what is it with like the access route now? Is it any better?
Can I comment please there?
How many years does it take to fix a road that is not more than 5 kilometers? And we've been there for almost 15 years. And the MPA cannot get up to say there is a terminal operator that has failed to pay its leases, pay its throughputs, and this money comes in several millions of dollars, not naira, and they can't fix the roads. It's honestly not, it's not good to say, because this is a station that is watched beyond the shores of this land. So we'll try to moderate what we say. Otherwise, gentlemen, they fast speak for themselves. Your crew can take a visit to the ports, Apapa and Think Island, and see for yourself how good the roads are. At least I can see some pictures. We didn't supply those pictures. Those pictures apparently came from maybe your crew.
Okay, Captain Ibrahim.
Thank you very much. I think it's very clear. The video, I'm happy you are showing a video. That is a live scenario we have at Tinkan right now. And that terminal you are saying, that is the 5-star, our neighbor. And the tendency is that we are facing the same challenge, because this has been there for more than 2 years. MP has not even addressed this issue. And if we allow this to happen in the next 6 months, the whole of the Tinkan port will collapse. And we don't want to wait for that. That's why we've been crying that we are ready to invest. Give us the approval to go ahead and do our own repairs. Nothing has been done. We've been hearing that in the paper that MPA wants to do this, they want to do that. But in reality, the true life world, nothing is happening. The video you are showing, this is the present situation in Tinkan Island Port. And like I said, in the next 6 months, if nothing is done, the whole of the key walls in Tinkan will collapse. The same thing applies to the road. Of course, the road, everybody says that there's no road in Tinkan. From Apapa, Liverpool to Maitu, there are no roads. A trailer will take about 2 weeks to bring an empty to the port. The same thing applies to take loading boxes away from the port down to my two. So what are we talking about? Let's be realistic. Let's say the truth the way it is. Nothing is happening in Tinkan Port. MPA is doing nothing. The infrastructure has decayed, and we are appealing to them that they should come and address this issue of the cable. What we are seeing live from that video, you are saying this is the present situation in Tinkan Island Port, and in the next 6 months, if nothing is done, the whole of the terminals will collapse. Thank you.
Okay,
sorry,
Captain
just a second, sir.
Okay.
If I may add, from what we are seeing on the screen, what we are saying here does not even fall within the 5 terminals that they are talking about. I don't want to call name, but I think I can identify this particular place. It belongs to another terminal that has just been signed for 15 years, renewed for 15 years. So if it is that the 5 terminals are not doing what they ought to do, we don't have something as bad as this. So I think there are 2 laws for 2 different sets of operators.
Okay, I would like to raise a number of questions.
Yes,
and both
please.
of you can address whatever part of it you want. First, have you made any efforts to engage the Ports Authority to see how this matter can be resolved? You say you have offered to develop certain aspects. You have not received any response.
Yes.
But Mohammed Koko is saying that if the concessionaires do not allow the leases to be renegotiated, that they have some options. One option is to revoke the concessions. Would that be okay by you, or you will go to court? He says another option is for the MPA to borrow and develop the infrastructure that they are talking about, and that then the rates that you have to pay will go up. MPA will pass the cost to you. So what options are available to you? What efforts are you making to make sure that, there is a way forward? Otherwise, MPA can just revoke the concessions and maybe you go to court or whatever.
Thank you, Ruben. To begin with, we are not in a banana republic. There is an agreement signed between NPA as landlords and BP, Bureau for Public Enterprises supervising, that spells out what is expected when a lease can be renewed and when it cannot be renewed, what should happen before they can terminate, either party can terminate or they can take whatever belongs to them. Of course, you don't tell a landlord not to take his property. But the landlord, of course, who has an obligation, will meet his obligations before taking the property. Yes, we have an understanding, which of course is in writing, and it provides expressly how that can happen. As we speak, MPA is completely in default of everything. I heard, and they have been given a 6 months extension, which is not known to law. And if you may know, the National Assembly has stepped into this matter. And the National Assembly recently, I think it was even in a copy of this day I saw it, recently passed a motion asking the terminal operators to stop paying lease and throughput to NPA until NPA fulfill their part of the contracts. So I would want to believe National Assembly is part of the government of the nation. So if the National Assembly can take such a hard stance, then we know where to put the buck. The buck is on NPA that has violated and flagrantly refused to obey their own contracts. One, the NPA is supposed to provide electricity. We generate our electricity. Captain Lukbade will confirm that. We all generate our electricity. As we speak, NEPA facilities occupying part of the lease, the space we are paying lease for. For 15 years, we've been paying lease for a certain... I don't know if you're a lawyer, but I always hear you quote law, and very rightly quoted. Now, you lease 10 square meter of land to somebody, and you can only give the person 6 square meter, and you are collecting money for 10. Is that not a violation of contracts? And you've done that for 10 years, and even that NEPA that the facility is there cannot provide light for that person who is paying for the lease of the space NEPA is occupying. I think they may need to examine their house and put their house in order. They just can't take the lease. They know that.
Okay, we have just about 2 minutes to go. Captain Olugbade, if we could come to you quickly.
Thank you. This is very interesting. I think for the terminals, we know what to do. We've complied with all the expected obligations from our side. And the government agencies are also part of this, who have confirmed that we are in compliance. Government agencies like BP, ICRC, even the Federal Ministry of Transportation, they have confirmed that we have complied with all the needful as per the agreement. Even our commitment to invest in the development of the port. So everything from our side, we have complied. MPA needs to go back, look at the agreement, and see if they're really meeting up their obligation. For the terminals, we have done more than enough to improve Nigerian economy, and we hope that very soon the needful will be done to make us go back to our operations, because now we're losing revenue, because we've been, for the past 2-3 years, 3 to 5 years, where our renewal is due, we've been going forth and forth. National Assembly, they are aware of this. Because of the seriousness of how it's affecting or impacting on the economy of Nigeria, the National Assembly had to intervene. So we hope that the needful will be done to get this issue resolved. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Captain Olugbade, and thank you also, Mr. Emmanuel Ogbebo, for joining us. We hope that the challenges you face at the ports will be resolved. Thank you very much.